Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be filming a knitting podcast episode and I feel like I haven't updated my channel on my knitting in what feels like a very long time. So I'm very excited to sit down today and talk all about knitting. I feel like I'm really excited about knitting at the moment. I have lots of projects that I am really enjoying working on, so I'm keen to talk all about it. If you're unfamiliar with the idea of knitting podcasts, first I'll talk about, I think actually I'm going to switch it up. Usually people talk about their finished objects, but I think I'm going to talk about my works in progress first. And then I'll talk about my one and only finished object, and then at the end talk about some recent yarn that I've bought and my intended project plans. So yeah, let's just get into it. I am going to start off with my whips, and the first project the channel has never seen before, and that is my Anna top by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones. So this is my progress so far, and I'm knitting it in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful yarn, which I think I'm going to talk about first because it's very exciting to me. This is I'm not actually sure how to pronounce this brand. It's called Zeelana, and it is their cowrie fingering weight yarn. But the composition of this yarn is really interesting and not like anything I've seen before. It is 60% merino, 30% brushtail possum, which I didn't even know you can make yarn from possums, and 10% silk. And it has this really interesting texture. It has a lovely, almost like shiny quality to it from the silk, but then it also has lots of these like kind of loose fibers that stick out of it that are like black, which I assume is the possum. And my cousin actually knit something with this yarn, and she made the songbird mittens. And like the finished object is almost a little bit felted, because I think that the like loose fibers after some time kind of mesh together a little bit and give it this like felted and very like smooth texture, which is really nice. So yeah, I've really enjoyed working with this yarn. The shade number is K17, and when I first saw the Anna top by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones, I was really drawn to the color she used for the sample. It's like this really deep navy blue. So originally I was planning to also make the top in this navy blue or maybe even a black yarn, but then when I saw this and the fact that it's like from New Zealand, I was really drawn to it and wanted to try working with it. And yeah, it's knitted up really beautifully so far, and it's also surprisingly soft, because I was a little bit concerned that it was gonna be a little bit itchy because of the looser fibers, but I've tried the top on, and so far for wearing it for a couple minutes it wasn't aggravating my skin at all. And usually I feel like you can tell from like the first kind of wear or first touch that if it's going to be itchy or not. So I have high hopes, but I'll have to see what it's like when I block it and wash it and all that. Final thing about the yarn, I also love that it has a bit more dimension than just a regular kind of superwash merino, because of the black kind of fibers from the possum and also the like shininess of the silk. I feel like it has a bit more depth than just a plain yarn. It might not be showing up on camera so well, but if you're unfamiliar with the Anna top by Kiss Kiss Rhinestones, it actually came out very recently, and it's just pretty simple stockinette top. It's mainly worked flat because the back is kind of the exciting design feature. It has a open back design, and you connect the two panels with hook and eye closures. So right now I just have some paper clips in as kind of a substitute so you can get an idea of how it will look. But that's what really drew me to this pattern, was the really cool open back design. And also there is an option in the pattern to add bust darts, or you can just knit it kind of symmetrical from the front and back so it can be reversible. And that's what I opted to do. I really like that design feature, and it also has a kind of high turtleneck design, which I'm not sure if I'm going to do yet. I think I'm going to finish the body and see how much yarn I have left over, because I'm playing it pretty close. I think I have like 1 meter of yarn to spare, so we'll see how it goes, see how much yarn I have left over, and then I might add the turtleneck because I do really like the way that it looks. So yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Other design features is it has this garter edge border that you knit as you go, so it's really quick and easy to work up, and you don't have to like pick up any stitches later to do any finishing details, which is really nice. I like the kind of quick gratification of that. It is knit though on 3.75mm needles, so it's not like the quickest knit ever, but I have been working projects on 3mm needles, so this feels like a nice quicker project in comparison. So yeah, I find myself really drawn to knitting on this, and I'm really excited about the finished object. My only kind of concerns at the moment is the size. It looks a little bit small. I did do 2 gauge swatches. Originally, I was knitting this with 3.5mm needles, and I wasn't meeting gauge with that, so I then sized up to the recommended needle size of 3.75, and I was like pretty much on gauge. I was a little bit short, but I figured that it would be okay and would kind of, yeah, block out. So I kind of just took the plunge and went with 3.75mm needles, because I also didn't want it to be too gapey if I sized up to 4 or 4.25. So yeah, I'm happy with that choice, but I do hope that when I block it, it gets a little bigger. As for modifications, I haven't made any. I followed it exactly to pattern, and yeah, it's been really easy to read. There's been no kind of challenges or hurdles along the way. So yeah, really enjoying this. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this pattern to beginners, as you don't really have to work any complicated techniques. You just do increases to shape the back, but there's no short rows. It's also really convenient the way that you work the garter border simultaneously, so you don't have to pick up any stitches later on to do anything, yeah, any finishing touches or anything like that. So yeah, it's been very smooth sailing and a painless knitting experience, which is really nice. I think this project will be great to wear in autumn, especially if I add the turtleneck, because I think the possum and the wool is going to make it really warm. And I feel like you could even pair it with a vest, oh not with a vest, with a long sleeve shirt underneath. I think that would also look really nice, especially if you made it in a bigger size. I feel like it would work well as like a vest as well. So yeah, super excited to finish this project. My next work in progress to talk about, also completely new to my channel, is this top by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I can't remember if it's camisole number 5 or number 4, but I'll put it on the screen. But this is an all over 2x2 ribbed tank that is worked on 3mm needles. Oh, I'm losing some stitches. So it's definitely not a project for the impatient. I feel like I've been working on this for like what feels like forever, and like I'll go to work on it for a couple hours and then like at the end it feels like I haven't made any progress. It just, yeah, takes a lot of time to see kind of the results of lots of work, but I feel like I'm getting somewhere. I've made some decent progress on it. Even though this project is taking me quite a long time, I am very excited about the idea of owning it and wearing it. Looking at the projects on Ravelry is very motivating, because everyone's projects look so beautiful and almost, yeah, like machine done or store bought. I think it's just the nature of the project, because it's worked on such fine needles, and the drape of the fabric and the stretch of the fabric, it just fits everyone so well. But I still have a long way to go. I'm now just working in the round, going round and round and round until it's my desired length, and then I have to do the finishing touches on the arms as well as like around the neckline, so that'll also take a while. So I'm not sure if I'm going to finish it for this summer. Also because it did take me a while to get it started. I was really struggling with doing the second strap because I didn't read the pattern close enough, and I assumed that the strap was worked like the left hand strap was worked the same as the right hand strap. But there is a very important detail that you have to start with a purl instead of a knit, like 2 purl stitches instead of 2 knit stitches to start the 2x2 ribbing, and that's really important for the way that the rest of the increases are worked. And yeah, I missed that detail, so it took me a lot of attempts to kind of figure out what was going wrong, and I kept ripping back and starting again at the increase section instead of starting again from the beginning. So it took me a while to catch my mistake, but once I figured it out, it honestly hasn't been too complicated, and I think that the way the increases look are really cool. And the way that this is constructed is you start by casting on for the straps, and then you work them to a certain length, and then you start working the increase rounds, and you increase and increase and increase until you get to a certain point. You put some stitches on hold, and then you kind of pick up again from the provisional cast on to do the increases in the same kind of formation for the back. So once I got through the front and figured out the way the increases will work, it was very easy to do the back, and now I'm just going around in 2x2 rib, which is hurting my hands a lot. Like, I can't work on this project for very long, especially because I'm knitting this in a cotton and merino blend. I'm using Knitting for Olive cotton merino, and I can't remember the name of the color, but it's this really beautiful dusty blue, and I'm really enjoying the yarn so far. The merino content does give it a little bit more elasticity than a regular cotton, but I find that it is still quite hard on my hands. But yeah, it's not itchy at all, and it looks like it'll wear really wonderfully. And overall, like, the Knitting for Olive color range is just beautiful, and I'm lucky enough that I can actually see the yarns in person because my local yarn shop sells lots of Knitting for Olive stuff. So it's just as beautiful in person as it is online. So I really recommend their yarn, especially for a summer project that uses less yarn. This was quite inexpensive. I only had to buy 3 skeins. So even though the price per gram is slightly more than your Drops yarn or like other more affordable brands, I feel like it is really worth it, especially for a project that uses less yarn. So yeah, I would definitely recommend the yarn. Only thing is though, the yarn is not very forgiving in showing my tension issues. I think if I was working this in the Knitting for Olive merino, it might be a different story, because you definitely can see all of the kind of differences in my tension, and yeah, it's definitely not perfect, but that is just the nature of handmade things. Those are actually the only 2 whips that I wanted to talk about today. If you've been keeping up with my knitting podcast, you'll know that I have some other projects on the go as well. I'm currently working on the spot sweater by Anne Betzel, and I also have a scarf. The scarf I've made quite some progress on, but I don't have it here with me right now. And my spot sweater I've kind of lost a little bit of motivation with. I think when it was getting warmer, and I was having some like issues with the sizing, I just kind of lost a bit of momentum with it, but I'm hoping that when it gets cooler I'll pick it up again and finish it off, and hopefully the blocking will help with the sizing a little bit. But yeah, I haven't really made any significant progress on those projects to talk about them. So let's just get into my finished object, which is my Ophelia tank. I finished this about a month ago and have been wearing it a lot, so it's actually in need of a serious wash because there is so many stains and like sunscreen marks on it, but I thought I would talk about it anyway. Just shows how much I've been wearing it and actually using it. So this top is knit using 3mm needles and fingering weight yarn. I use Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. If you're unfamiliar with how this top is worked, basically you start by knitting the back panel back and forth in stockinette, and you do a little bit of German short rows to shape it, and then you pick up stitches to work the straps, and you basically work a lot of increases until it reaches a certain length, and then you join in the round and you just work around and round and round. You do some decreases to make these nice princess seams, and then you can also do some increases to shape the hips a little bit. So that's the kind of general gist of the top. And then you also work this beautiful English mesh lace stitch on all of the edges. And maybe you've noticed I actually did the lace stitch wrong around the neckline and also around the armholes. I was doing my yarn overs incorrectly, and then it kind of made a much denser looking lace stitch, which honestly I don't prefer to the original design, but I think it works and I'm not going to unravel it. Because yeah, I like the way that it looks, and it still gives like an interesting texture. But the actual intended lace stitch looks more like this, which I realized halfway into the lace on the hem for the bottom of the top. And I really love the way that it looks. I think it's so pretty. So yeah, that's the construction of the top. It's really beautiful, but just takes a lot of time because it's worked on pretty skinny needles and fingering weight yarn, but I'm very happy with the finished object. And once you get to working in the round, you're just doing stockinette, so I feel like it's pretty doable, and as a beginner I found it very easy to follow. The tutorials linked were really helpful. So yeah, I think if you want to make this top and you're a beginner, I would really suggest just going for it. Honestly, the only thing that was like challenging or like really hair-pullingly difficult was the lace. Just keeping track of all of the stitches you're doing and making sure that it lines up, that was kind of the most difficult part and required a lot of focus. But for the rest of the top, it was pretty simple. And also it's great because you can customize it. I decided to knit the tank top version, but you can also knit a version with sleeves or long sleeves. And there's also a blouse that has the same lace stitch. That's another pattern that I really love the look of and might be casting on at some point too. Oh, one other mistake that happened was when I was picking up my stitches to work the straps, I had twisted them. So the strap was, yeah, twisted, and I had to cut my strap. I don't know if this is really what I was supposed to do, but I did it anyway. I cut my strap, picked up my stitches on my needle, and then Kitchener stitched the strap with a back panel. So that was something else I learned in the process, how to do Kitchener stitch. But it all worked out in the end, and there is like a more visible seam on this side where I Kitchener stitch it together. It's supposed to be a little bit more smooth, but it's not really that noticeable. But otherwise, this was a really fun project, and I've already gotten lots of wear out of it, which is so nice. There's nothing worse than spending so much time knitting something and then blocking it and realizing you don't really like the way that it looks, or you don't really like the way that the fabric feels. But blocking this really just relaxed all the stitches so nicely, made it so much more drapey and yeah, comfortable to wear. So really happy with the finished object, and yeah, I can see myself making this again in the future, and I can see myself wearing it a lot more. So that's all for my whips and my finished object. Final thing to talk about is my yarn that I bought actually today. This is what I picked up from the shops. I actually got this from Big W, which in Australia is like this very cheap kind of, I don't really know how to explain it. There's literally everything in Big W. You can get clothes, you can get chocolate, you can get tech stuff and stationery, and they also have some yarn options. But I picked up this really fun blue multicolored yarn, mainly because of all of the fun kind of variations in it. I don't really know how to explain it, but you can see that it has, yeah, even in a single strand, there's multiple colors. And I think it's going to make a really beautiful beanie for my grandpa. So that's kind of my intended project. I think I'm going to make the Lousy, L-O-S-Y beanie pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's intended for leftover scrap yarn that you hold double, but I can meet gauge, I think, on this 8-ply DK weight yarn. And I really like the 3x1 rib, and it looks like a really easy pattern to follow, so that's what I'm going to make with this. I have a week to knit it because I'm going back to Europe next week, and I really want to give it to my grandpa before then so we can wear it for the remaining winter weeks. The beanie is made in 3x1 rib, which might be a little bit fiddly, but I really love the way that it looks, and because it'll be a bit stretchy with a 3x1 rib, I'm sure it'll fit, or hopefully it will fit. So yeah, that's my only yarn acquisition. It is a 80% acrylic yarn and 20% wool. I haven't knit with much acrylic before. I feel like acrylic tends to get a pretty bad rap, but this yarn feels really soft, and yeah, I think it'll be really practical and easy to wash and care for. So I think it'll make a good gift knit. It was also really inexpensive. It was only $10 for this 150 gram ball, so I'll be able to make definitely one hat out of this, and I think I'll have a little extra so I can use it for some scrappy yarn project as well. But yeah, it's the Patterns Sierra 8-ply yarn if you're curious, and there's lots of fun colors, so I even would be drawn to make myself something out of this yarn too. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video.